prospects are such a rough topic for me because when you look at prospects, you have your top six forwards, your top four defensemen, your bottom six forwards, your starting goalies, backup goalies, and where they're projected to be isn't always where they end up. And in some cases, it doesn't work out for them at the NHL level at all. And in some cases, guys who aren't even on the radar end up being big stars. So today, Craig Button's top 50 are released. And let me go ahead and take a look back 2 years at the one he did in 2016. And I'm doing this for a reason. Number one in 2016 on the NHL affiliated prospects. So this is not including guys who haven't been drafted yet. Willie Nylander of Toronto was number one. Dylan Strome was number two. He had Provorov at four. He had Christian Dvorak at three. Kyle Connor at 5, Mitch Marner at 6, Sebastian Aho at 7, Jimmy Vesey at 8, Zach Werenski at 9, 10, Timo Meier. So you can see that he sticks to a lot of the really popular guys, but Brock Besser's down at 20, Mikko Rantanen's at 17, Buchnevich is at 21, Travis Sanheim 23, Julius Honka 26, Matthew Barzell's at 28, Braden Point's at 30. Like, it's really kind of, to me, it's hard to measure because you're looking through prospect lists for 31 teams. So when you got 31 teams right now, that means one prospect average per team. Unless there's two things that can cause a team to have a lot of prospects in here. Either they've got a lot of top prospects that haven't got broken through because they have a deep team, or they got a lot of draft picks and they draft relatively well. At least they should, based on this prospect list. So the current number one prospect on his list is Elias Patterson, Vancouver Canucks prospect, who has 45 points in 35 games right now and is breaking scoring records in the Swedish league for a kid that young. Eli Tolvanen, Nashville prospect, 34 points in 47 games for Jokerit in the Finnish league. So, you know, another winger's coming up for Nashville. And that's scary stuff. Martin Necas he has at third. He's a Carolina prospect. Playing in the Czech league. 20 games, 12 points. He has Cody Glass at fourth. This is where I can weigh in. Saw Cody Glass in the preseason game in Vancouver. I personally thought he was going to stick around. McPhee was wise to not listen to what I thought. He's got 69 points in 45 games for Portland this year as an 18-year-old. Casey Middlestad, of course, at 5. If you talk to a Buffalo fan for more than 5 seconds, they'll start to bring up Casey Middlestad, and for good reason. 22 points in 26 games for Minnesota in the NCAA this year, but of course he played in the World Junior Championship. He was very good, and he's a very solid player. What stands out with this list, Sorokin, Shesterkin, and Samsonov, who go with Ilya, Igor, and Ilya as first names. So their first names all start with I, and their last names all start with S. They're goalies. Islanders, Rangers, Washington. They're all Metro goalie prospects. It's weird. Sorokin, 36 games, 1.58 goals against, and a .930 save percentage. He's the best. Wait, Shesterkin, 27 games played, 1.77 goals against, and a .930 save percentage. They're all the best. Wait, Samsonov, 24 games, 2.44 goals against, and a .922 save percentage. There's some really fantastic goalies coming out of Russia. Here's the thing. My guess is one of the three will probably be a flop at the NHL level because it's rare for every goalie prospect in any given prospect pool to be an NHL level goaltender. And I look at Jack Campbell, who was a Dallas Stars prospect, as a good example of that. He was a number 10 draft pick, supposed to be a very dominant goalie, put up very good stats, and then it just didn't work out for him at the major league level. Ironic that I mentioned him since he's having a very good year this year in LA's affiliate, but for right now, this is where we are. The ones that interest me are, he has Dylan Strome at 12. He has Elias Anderson at 13. I don't personally think I would put Anderson below Strome, but that's more because I don't know what Strome's ceiling is. There's already people qualifying him as being a flop. I don't. He has Kaprizov at 14. He's a Minnesota property. Jordan Kyrou at 15, of course, famously recently being rumored to be in different trade deals. Borgstrom and Heponiemi, Florida prospects are next up, and then Valimaki, Calgary draft pick. Number 19, he has Carter Hart. So he has Carter Hart below those three Russian goalies. I'm not sure that I would put Carter Hart below them. Again, this is such an inexact science. Kiefer Bellows is at 21. Gabe Velarde at 22. Nick Suzuki at 23. It's an interesting list with all of these different prospects from different teams, but Vegas shows up a bunch of times. Vancouver shows up a couple of times as well. Vegas has Brandstrom, who's at 20. Suzuki's at 23. Of course, Vancouver has Ulevi at 24. Fans outside Vancouver will tell you he's a bust, even though he hasn't played a game yet in the NHL. And for Turku, he has 17 points in 28 games. Alex Nylander's down to 25. Now, I don't know if Nylander has the NHL upside. This year he's got 9 points in 25 games in Rochester. I think we're flirting with Buffalo maybe asking, hey, Toronto, do you guys want his brother? Maybe. And then Adam Gaudette, 26. Much like Buffalo fans will tell you about Casey Middlestad, a lot of talk from Vancouver fans right now about Adam Gaudette. I get asked about Gaudette. Here's the thing. He plays for Northeastern. He's got 42 points in 28 games. He's 21 years of age. He's physically mature for the NHL. He's going to have the option when he comes out of his NCAA year this year to sign with the Canucks or become a UFA. I personally think he signs with the Canucks. Why? As a young kid, you're looking for where you're going to get minutes and where you're going to get the opportunity. Vancouver will give him that opportunity. They're going young. They're doing well with their youngsters. Another youngster in here from Vancouver is Jonathon Dolan, who for Timrah has had 37 points in 35 games. And there's a vision of Dolan playing on a line with Patterson. But here's the thing. Dolan, Patterson, Gaudette, Ulevi, Demco's on here too. That's 5 Canucks on here. Odds are 2 of them flop at the NHL level. This is why I don't look at these lists and say, oh man, I wish I had done this list, because I could sit here now, but again, for me, when you're looking at just these guys, like you look at Nick Suzuki and Alex Nylander, okay, Suzuki's higher. Why? Because he is. Like, and I Craig Button does this, and it's a very popular thing that he's doing here, and I commend him for this. He's very passionate about the prospects and the rookies. But as I talked earlier today about the 2015 draft, which is only almost 3 years ago, so it's 2.5 years ago, and we're already looking back at that draft and saying, man, this team missed out on that guy, this team missed out on this guy. Prospects are much the same way. We can look at this and say, all right, Philippe Myers for Philly, Lehigh Valley, he'll be an NHLer in a couple seasons. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. Philip Chytil, and there was a lot of talk from Rangers fans about Chytil, and he should have made it. For Hartford this year, 21 points in 26 games. He may be a fantastic dynamic forward. We just don't have any idea yet. Then you look further down, and I see Thatcher Demco at 42. Well, Demco right now has a .929 save percentage in Utica. So the question that I would then ask is it more impressive to have a .929 save percentage in the American League, or more impressive to have a .930 save percentage in the KHL? And we won't agree on that. There are people who will say KHL. Personally, I go with the AHL. I look at that save percentage and I say, you know what, maybe Demco's ready next year. With KHL, I hold off because it's a completely different game. It's not the same as the North American game in any way that it's played. And he's got Cal Foot at number 50. So what I'll do, I'll link to this list. You guys can debate it and tear it apart and pull it back together if you want to. Again, I don't really talk about who I feel are the best prospects because I don't have the knowledge that he has. And I also know that any list I've seen of best prospects, and I've got Future Watch issues from Hockey News extending back 10 years. And I've gone through those before. I'm definitely going to go through them again as the new Future Watch comes out in March. So when that comes out, we'll go through it again, and I'll point out some weird predictions they had. But again, when you're talking about 18 and 19-year-old kids, you don't know what they're going to be when they're 25. Unless it's Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, or Jack Eichel, or one of those sure thing guys, you just don't have an idea of what they're going to be when they're older. You don't know. Some of them are smaller, and you go, well, they'll fill out. Maybe they don't. Or maybe they fill out a little too much and they lose some of their speed. Or maybe you say, well, his hands need some work, but he's got the skating. Maybe they don't come around. Maybe he's a good skater and his hands just aren't there. And there are guys, too, who've put up a lot of goals in junior or in minor leagues. I think of Emerson, eat him with that, and you get all excited. And then at the NHL level, it just doesn't work out. So prospects are a minefield, and I try my best to stay out of it. But I know you guys are really interested in that, so I'm doing this as sort of a way of saying, all right, here's my video on prospects. Here's where things are stacked right now in terms of Craig Button and what he feels. And again, his passion and his love for all this is awesome. I just like just looking at this now and seeing Owen Tippett at 41. I think Tippett's going to be a really good forward. I think Owen Tippett's going to be a very quality guy, and I think he'll probably 10 years from now, I would think he'd be higher on this list if you redid it based on guys who aren't in the NHL. But we'll find out, right? So let me know what you guys think about the list. Again, I'll link it in the description for this video. And just about these kind of lists in general, I just take them as kind of fun. Because I know deep down that 5 years, 3 years from now, we'll look back at this list and say, where's this guy? And, you know, there'll be guys that aren't even on the top 50 that are in the NHL and playing well. And there'll be guys who are in the probably top 20 who aren't in the NHL. So thank you very much for watching. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And I'll talk to you again soon.